All right, welcome back everyone to another Pulse training session here in the Guardian Alliance. Nice to see you all. Great to have your presence here today. Today is an exploration of the ambassador archetype. What does it mean to be a global ambassador? What does it mean to share our gifts with the world? What does it mean to own the deepest heart of the message that we have to share? How do we get in touch with that stream of our souls, that core river, which has so many tributaries that are branches connecting to different areas of our lives, and perhaps even different lifetimes, and perhaps even different star systems, and allow all the waters of that river to flow forth into the present moment to be given as a gift to those around us. We, as a stream of being, encounter different kinds of situations where we may feel that it is essential to share some part of ourselves. And yet, somehow, in some way, there may be a feeling of discomfort, a feeling that we may be judged, a feeling that another person may not understand what it is that we have to share, or that a group of people won't know what we're talking about. They won't get us. They won't receive us. And so, even though that stream is right there and it's ready to flow, we kind of create a little whirlpool with it. And we let it just circulate inside of ourselves. Maybe one day we'll share this current. But this sometimes happens over a whole span of our lives, until at some point we get so fed up with creating these eddies and not letting the stream flow that we start shouting our message from the mountaintops. We start screaming it in the car when nobody's listening. We start singing it out loud until we're crying, because we can hear how much it means to us in our own voices. We can feel how important these messages are to us. We can sense the well and the depth of the well and the chalice of our own being. Ambassadorship is about getting in touch with that well. It's about getting in touch with the pools that we've left behind, that we still need to share. And in the beginning, it is about trusting yourself and reclaiming those pools, reclaiming those streams, reclaiming your right and your gift to the message that you are here to give, and laying down the armor, laying down the judgments, particularly the ones we have on ourselves, that what we have to share is not good enough, that what we have to share is, everybody's heard that before probably, or other people share it better than me. And also getting in touch with the judgments in others and laying those down. The times we judge others and we say, these people are not going to understand me. You're judging them. You're saying these people are not open enough and don't have the capacity to receive the gift that you have to give. Or that these people are going to judge you. Well, you're judging them by thinking they're going to judge you. You're already cutting off the opportunity for them to receive by the fact that you are projecting this judgment upon them. And so we lay down these judgments because for the truth stream to arise, for the current to really flow from our beings, it needs to have space. And judgment is really good at creating a container. It's really good at creating a shape around something. Judge this, this is what it is. Now I've got it. It's inside my geometry. I've got it in a little ball here. But streams don't flow very well through closed boxes and balls and containers, right? Streams flow through valleys. And valleys are open. You know, I heard a wise quote recently, which was, how do you know where the river flows on the mountain? What is a river on a mountain? And the answer is that it is the lowest point. Always. So wherever there's a stream, wherever there's a river, it's the lowest point on the mountain. It's the deepest part of the valleys. And so literally the landscape of the valleys, the lowest points on the mountains, the place where there is the most amount of space, that's where the water flows. And so we, like mountains, you know, we have to create these spaces for that current to flow. And sometimes that means pulling out the muck. It means pulling out where there's fallen trees and weeds and leaves and clearing some boulders out, you know. And sometimes to do that, we have to like really flow the water through. We need a really heavy rain to just like wash some of the dead trees down the mountain and get some of the stuff out of the way so that our waterfall can really come out and express itself. It's all nature. It's all simple. It's all just who we are. And yet so challenging. Because beyond the place where we have judgment, we also sometimes experience fear. And the fear is this experience of, what if I screw up? What if I say something wrong? What if I go up on that stage and I just completely embarrass myself? And what if I damage my ability to go on stage again in the future? What if I lose my reputation? Oh, these kinds of thoughts, they're just, ooh, they just get in there. Oh, they're so rough. They're so intense. But, you know, here's the thing. You have two choices. I mean, you've got infinite choices, really. But in this particular moment, I see it as there's kind of two sides. One side of the coin is that you get up on stage, you share your gifts, you screw up, and you keep going, you recover, you come off stage, and even though you may have done amazing the whole time, you're probably going to feel pretty rough about that moment in which you screwed up. Okay, that's a deal. The other side of the deal, again, this is all the fear. This is like sitting in the place of the fear and the reality of it. The other way, you don't go on stage at all. Okay, so people were counting on you to come on stage. Now you're not going to even come on stage at all. You're going to walk away from this opportunity. You're going to choose to block yourself. You're not going to give your gift. I mean, which is worse? The latter is way, way worse. And so you bite the bullet and you go on the freaking stage. And yes, you're probably going to judge yourself afterwards. You're going to be the critic. You're going to be the one who comes off the stage and you're like, oh man, could have said that a better way, and this could have been way more smooth. And like, people are like, oh, that was so amazing, that was so wonderful. And you're like, like, but didn't you think that like in this part, like, was I just too wordy? You know, did I say too much? You know, or was the humor too much? Like, did I'm pretty sure I cursed at some point, you know, and they're like, no, it's fine. I didn't even notice, you know, and you're like, oh, I don't know. And you're just beating yourself over the head with the one thing that you did slightly less than perfect, while everybody else is trying to thank you and give gratitude and praise you. So this relationship with the fear of going on is also related to this relationship of the fear that you didn't do good enough afterwards. And when you can get in touch with that loop and realize, okay, I'm going to be probably nervous before I get on stage, but what is this fear? What is this nervousness? Where does it come from? And you tune into yourself and you really start to feel, what is that feeling? What is it? For me, in my body, like, I'll get these like tingles down, you know, in my loins, and I get a little bit of like butterfly-like feelings in my stomach, or just sometimes it's like a little vibration kind of going on in my stomach. And if I close around those feelings, then it starts getting really intense, and it starts kind of wanting to shake me and wanting to, like, you know, take over my body in a way. And if I open my body and expand my spine and I breathe through those spaces, all of that anxiety, all that fear, all the things that I'm labeling as that start to feel like rushes of energy. It starts to feel like a current moving in me. And if I breathe that current up my spine and breathe it down the front of my body, swallow the saliva in my mouth to anchor it down in my dantian, and breathe it up through my body again, and I start circulating my chi, which is one of the practices that we deal with in the warrior training. I noticed that that feeling, that was this feeling that I associated as fear because I just labeled it as that with my mind, because I thought that's what's going on, or I labeled as anxiety. And suddenly now what I'm experiencing is this just intense charge. And I'm feeling this heat in my belly and a heat in my body and this fire inside of me. I'm starting to feel literally this like booster going on. And then as I go out on stage, it's like in that moment and your heart's beating and it's like pumping it all through your body. And you're like super high. And you walk out on that stage and you face the people and you feel your heart pounding, you feel the energy flowing. And you just breathe again. And you breathe in all this energy of all the people looking at you, and you breathe it out all back. And I like to, in that moment, just take in everyone that I can see, everyone that's out there. I make them real to me so that it's not just a sea. It's not just a giant crowd. It's people. It's an individual looking at me. Someone over here who's looking at me with a sort of pensive, like, oh, I wonder how this is going to be. Someone over here who's looking at me with eyes open and a smile. recognizing me, excited to hear what I have to say. Someone over here who's just sitting and kind of like, you know, drinking their water and whatever. And someone over here who's looking pretty sleepy. And someone over here. And they're all people. They're all individual people that I would connect with, one to 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 one. And now what I'm doing is I'm entering this dance. So I'm going into the field to dance with all of these people. And how am I going to do it? There's so many of them, right? There's all of them. Okay, well, it's a little easier with smaller crowds, but big crowds, it's crazy. But let's just start with the idea of the smaller crowd, right? So I've now like channeled my fear into energy, moving it into my body, experiencing who I'm speaking to. And now my first goal, as I begin to share what I have to share, is to touch one or more of those people. I'm going to just touch one, touch another. And this process of anchoring to individuals as the way that I'm connecting to the collective relaxes you a lot. And it also gives you an easier sense of what it is that needs to come out, right? There's a lot of times when I've crafted in advance what I want to say on a stage. When I get out on the stage, it's kind of like you just walk up and you're just meeting a bunch of people. And now that you're meeting a bunch of people, what you thought you were going to say is not really what you want to say. And you just start something. Hi, I'm Adam Apollo. You know, like, or welcome everybody. It's great to see you here. I'm so happy to be here in this place with you. Express your gratitude, express your love and appreciation. This is such a beautiful theater, you know, or this land is so beautiful. I'm so thankful for being here on this place. Wow, it's hot, you know, or just anything that's just moving and coming up. And just let that be that kind of light introduction that's saying, hi, you know, I'm here with you and we're here together. I'm acknowledging that I'm a person and you're a person. We both have feelings and we both think it's hot outside. Can we agree on that? Yes. Okay, great. Okay, good. Now, now that that's out of the way, I'd like to share with you some things about myself and about my life. And I'm going to share these things with you, and I promise you that I'm going to take you somewhere by sharing this with you. That there's something I'm going to speak about, and that this thing that I'm going to speak about is really deeply important to me, and it means a lot to me. Now, as you may notice, I'm kind of like abstracting a little bit. But I want to illustrate for you a principle through that abstraction, which is simply that you want to let them know that you're going to take them down a river and that they're going to end up somewhere so that they can relax and they can go, okay, this is a ride. we're not just going to get straight there. But you give them enough of where you're going, enough of the point, enough of the direction so that they have a sense of whether it's going to be worth their time to be there or not. And so this is about surfacing and revealing the deepest core star intention and purpose of why you're with them. And if you can allow that to come out and shine in a potent way, they will stay the whole time. Nobody's going to leave. They're going to stay. Now, someone might leave if they, really have other time commitments and they really couldn't be there for the whole talk or whatever, that kind of thing. But everyone who came to hear you talk is going to stay through your talk, because they're going to believe and they're going to know and they're going to feel the power in where you're going to, right? So for example, in my talk on unified physics that I did recently, that I put the recording in the Guardian Alliance, if you guys want to listen to that at some point, I gave people a sense that I have been an explorer of the universe, and that through my explorations of the universe, I've come to a state of a place of realization that everything is interconnected, including our consciousness, and that there is actually this incredible relationship that we have with the whole universe. And I'm going to share with them how that works and what that is and what that looks like. And so they're like, okay, we're going in, let's do it. And you go in. So that's like shining the core star. It's like illuminating a lighthouse, you know, down at the end of the river at the ocean. And you're like, that's where we're going. We're going to that lighthouse. And they're like, okay, cool. That sounds good. Let's go. They're either in the boat or they're not. Now you're in the process of having to tell the story and to begin to bridge to the people in the audience what it is that you have to share about. And I like to have the experience of like rotation. So the rotation looks like this. I'm dancing with myself. This is my story. I'm Adam Apollo and I'm from here. And I experienced this and I did that. And this happened to me. And then, oh my gosh, I realized something, right? And then after I dance with myself and I say, I look at it this way, and this is how I'm experiencing it, then I dance with somebody else, like Phoenix. And so now I'm dancing to Phoenix and I'm saying, so you could look at it like this, and I'm imagining that I see the way that Phoenix sees it. I'm speaking to her as if what I'm sharing, I need to share with her in the particular way that she needs to receive it, so that she can actually ground the idea and anchor it in to her being and understand it from the standpoint of her own experience. And it's just an intuitive thing, because I'm dancing with Phoenix and I'm sharing, and I like her headphones. And I remember having cool headphones at one point in time, and I lost those headphones. But that's all right, because that reminds me of the time I was a DJ. And I like to get in touch with the way that sound feels when it's really inside of your head, what it feels like to have, you know, the sound or a voice or whatever really inside of you and really a part of you, right? And just touching your experience, right? In some way I'm getting in touch with you, your experience, your being, your person, and I'm dancing with you, right? And I may not stare at you the whole time, right? That's because people get uncomfortable in the audience. But I've looked at one person in the audience. I've gotten some moment of connection that they're really receiving me, and I'm communicating to them. Like we sync for just a second, right? Like I see you, you see me. Okay, good. Now I'm talking with you and I'm dancing with you as I'm speaking to the whole audience, right? And it's giving me this personal space to really go deep around a certain perspective. And then once that sort of sets in and I can tell that she gets it, you know, she's on it, then I shift and I'm dancing with somebody else, you know? And I pick Mar. And Mar's over here and he's like jamming. I'm like, yeah, okay. So we got this cool thing going on. And you know, something about it is really interesting, you know, and, you know, I like reggae too. And, you know, I like hanging out. And so I shift my vibration, I shift my gears, I shift my culture, I shift my feel to speak to this other person, right? I like swing as well. Absolutely. Heck yeah. Heck yeah, I do. And so I shift to match this other person's harmonic. And then I'm looking, and then I check in back in with them, and they're on, right? Like we just had a click, transmission, access granted. Okay, we're in sync. So then I dance on to the next person. And this is what I'm doing. I'm doing like a square dance, weaving through the crowd. And what I'm aiming to do is not necessarily speak to every single person in the audience, right? That's really hard, especially if it's a big audience. If it's a very small audience, okay, sure, definitely. But what I'm really seeking to do is thread my communication through each of the archetypes in the room, right? So that means enough of a spread of people in different states that I know I've covered most of the energy that's in the room. So I've totally spoken to disinterested guy. I've totally spoken to sleepy girl. I've totally spoken to super excited girl. I've totally spoken to gangsta hip hop guy who's pretty interested and super cool. You know, I've totally spoken to, you know, doctor guy who's, you know, very professional and really interested in the technicality of what I'm saying. You know, I've spoken to his wife who is interested, but her language is much more healing and vibration, you know. And I've spoken to, you know, that guy way over there who seems to just be like taking in the universe, right? And so I'm speaking to each one of these different people so that I have technicality. I'm exciting enough to keep the sleepy person awake. I'm cool enough to hang with the gangsta fellow, right? I'm, you know, engaging enough for disinterested guy, you know, and have enough things that pop out as deep ideas that he's like, okay, all right, I'm getting it. So this is the spin, this is the game. And I'm dancing with each of them in order to refine my own sharing, my own way of giving my gift. So they're all little changes in the river for me. Now, as the talk unfolds, as time unfolds, as the sharing of myself and my gift unfolds, I am just checking in with all of these fields and noticing which ones are turning on more, which ones are turning off more, which ones are turning on more, which ones are turning off more. And if it's turning off, I start to shift some attention towards that space. If it's really turned on, I'm like, okay, we're good over here on this department. I can play in some other spaces, you know. and from the standpoint of the weaver, which is the harmonic balance of the ambassador, you are literally feeling the vibe of the collective, and it's like you're making love to all of these people. And because you're making love to all of these people, you want to make sure that every one of them feels like they have enough attention. That every single person there feels good and feels attended to and feels like you care about them. And you care about it because you do. You're there to share your gift because you absolutely care that every single person in that space has an opportunity to receive this gift that you have to give. You really want them to have that. That's how you know that you've succeeded, is when you feel that the people on the other side have received something profound for their lives. So yes, you want to get them there. You want to be with them. You want to love them up. You want to speak to their hearts. You want to connect to their beings as much as you can. Now, in the journey there's always places, there's always going to be places and times and points and moments where you don't know where to go. You don't know what's next. Maybe you overthought the whole thing and you created notes and note cards for the entire span of your talk and all this stuff, and you've planned it all out so that you've got all of that. But the problem with that is that you lose authenticity of flow and presence in the moment sometimes. And it's valuable to have anchor points of where you want to go and what you want to talk about. But it's also just as valuable to listen to the field of what people want to hear about. Because when you structure a talk based on what you think is the best possible thing or the best possible flow or the best possible direction, well, when you're stuck in that, you can be going on through your cards and reading the next thing, you know, speaking the next section, and people are lost and you're noticing they're lost, but you're just like, oh, well, I better keep going. Yeah. It's horrible. It's an awful thing. You know, I like to have the image in my head of, like, you know, the guy who's got his, you know, ritual for success here, and he's like, and the strategic time blocking of the whole week in order to over deliver on projects, blah blah blah, and everybody's like, and finally he's like, oh, you know what, forget it, you know, and just like toss the cards. Hi, I'm a real person. I'm not a robot. I'm here to actually talk to you, not just read something to you, you know? And that shift, that, like, forget the cards, like, let's just be in a conversation. Sometimes that shift is a huge relief in the energy. And people are like, oh, good, he's actually going to talk to me. We're actually going to be in shared space. And this is the thing, is that you think that a crowd is listening to you and they're just listening, but they're not. They're participating. Like, their presence and their consciousness is driving the talk. And when they're not present and they're not conscious, then you got nothing. You're not going anywhere. So you got to create a feedback loop. You have to meet that feedback loop and re-stimulate it whenever you can. That means being silly, and that just means being honest and being like, oh my gosh, I have no idea where I'm going from here, but just bear with me, because I know I'm going to get back to something good. And then right then, you know what it is that you need to say, right? And so there's these moments, and as Gustavo has mentioned in the chat here, it's like, what is the blank moment, right? What happens in that moment? Like, oh, I'm done. That's been said. Okay, what's the next topic? So instead of and instead of instead of like try to think, right? What I do is I just sit there for a second. And I look at people. What does this person need? 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 I just kind of like take it in, and I see, how well did they sit with that? How well did they sit with everything that I just shared? Because I'm just giving them a moment, really. I'm giving them integration time. And I'm saying, here you go. I'm going to stop talking for a minute because my mind is completely blank. And in that blankness, I'm going to allow there to be space for everything that I've said to be integrated. And then it becomes really clear. And you know where you need to go. because you can feel what's been completed and the arc that remains. And in this case, the arc that is remaining is how we start to then wrap up the talk and bring it to a close. And this is one of, I'd say, the most challenging things in being a speaker. When do you stop? Especially when you're in the free flow, especially when the time is flexible or inflexible. When do you stop? You get that 5-minute warning, right? Or you get that, like, it's all right, I need to start wrapping up, right? So how do you do that? How do you connect and reconnect the whole field? For me, I like to take account for the journey that we've just been on. So I begin to enter the closing by going back and touching on and reviewing some of the different energetic moments throughout the talk, and revisit to some extent what I've presenced previously and what has already happened. So in this case, I might say, so it's beautiful how through the moment of facing your fear in the beginning and allowing yourself to really feel the circulation of energy, you propel yourself into a state of coherence where you're dancing with this whole field of community. And you're experiencing each one of these community members meeting you, synchronizing with you, and coming into coherence with the message that you have to share. And as you dance with each of them, you're allowing the whole field of archetypes to merge and expressing yourself from each of the facets of who you are, so that they can be really met, and also so that you can share all the parts of yourself with them. It doesn't matter if you have blank moments, because they're integration time. And if you allow yourself to ride through it, you're going to come into a state of completion. And that completion, stage after stage through your talk, is essential. That integration of the whole weave of your journey is essential. And through allowing yourself to show people the whole picture, as well as all the details, will give them the gift of understanding everything that you have to share with them, and to take it home in a beautiful package wrapped with a bow. Thank you, everybody. Good night. You know, abstracting examples on talks that are not talks but that are talks is a pretty interesting thing, and I've been playing with that. So what is some of the things that we can do to establish a spectrum of coherence to speak to the different kinds of people that we speak to? One of the ways that we can get in touch with that is by studying astrology, and getting to know different astrological archetypes. I also highly recommend the Gene Keys. Really, really good at getting to know deep level energetic archetypes. And thanks for being here with us, Mar. Thanks for dropping in, man. And getting to know archetypal systems in general, and sort of mapping the kinds of relationships and fields that you have in your life, is all very, very helpful in teaching and in training your body to recognize and acknowledge the different areas or the different facets that you can speak to a group of people. So that's just a little homework tip, is developing that archetypal perception lets you communicate to people more effectively. Another tip is recognizing that your voice is playing sound at different harmonics. So when you're speaking and vibrating your voice and vibrating the space in different notes on the scale and different energy levels, you are playing to different receivers, right? So for example, if I have a bunch of glasses, you know, sitting on a table and they're all different sizes, and I hit different, you know, tuning forks, depending on the note of the tuning fork, it's going to resonate one or more of those glasses more strongly because it's going to be in resonance, the same resonant frequency. And so I need to realize that my body and my voice is going to resonate certain other bodies at certain frequencies better than others. So when I get low and deep and start to express things in a interesting way, I'm going to resonate with certain people. When I get excited and I get crazy and I go for it all the way, it's going to get other people. When I become an Indian saint and I am just expressing myself as if it is the truth of the entire universe all coming into communion at the same time, I reach other people. Or if I'm trying to very specifically hit the technical apparatus of a very specific equation and do so with a level of precision that truly can be received as accurately as it is, I reach other people, you know? Or when I'm just like chilling and just straight hip hop rapping it out, like talking about it because, you know, it's like a beat sequence open in my mind, open into the levels of divine, and I receive the word of the infinite flow and I allow myself to simply let go. You know, that's another whole facet of my being and another energy level that's going to reach certain people. Now I'm strongly, showing vulnerability. Exactly. Thank you. Yes. So, or saying that, you know, in my life, I've had a lot of difficulty with feeling the trust that I need to feel to be the leader that I am, to trusting myself enough. And over time, I realized I had to accept myself. And that through doing that, then I reach people. And so you could look at them as acts, right? You could look at them as roles that I'm playing. But they would be acts and roles if they weren't actually a part of me. They're actually a part of me. These are facets of who I am. And I don't have to go all the way into Indian accent to still share something at that vibration, right? Sometimes it's easier for me to shift the full vibration by shifting the accent, by shifting the way that I hear myself and the way that I feel myself. Because it's immediately self-reflective that I'm in a new vibration right now. But I can also just be in the same accent and speak at a higher voice. Or I can drop it down. Or I can do it a little more like a song. And this play through the harmonics and through the vibrations and through the archetypes, this is the spectral wheel. This is the field of connecting to all of the people, to resonating all the glasses in the room, to bringing it all into a pot of wonderful yumminess so that we can all have this wonderful experience of connecting and feeling the energy together. Won't it be great? It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be so wonderful. So that's another tip. And when you're done and you step off the stage, just let yourself forget about how good or bad you did. Like, forget about it. It's not time for that yet. You can look back at it. You can judge, but forget about it for right now. Just feel. Just feel the field. What do you feel in your body? Do you feel good or do you feel bad? You're probably going to feel great and exhilarated and full of energy, especially if you got some applause, you know, you got some acknowledgement at the end there, even if it's just a little bit. Great, good, you made it. Hey, at the very least, you survived. You didn't just die on stage, right? You didn't melt down and cry. You didn't like run away. You did it. You showed up. Good job. Now you're off stage. Cool. You did it. Great. Time to, you know, celebrate. So it's the time now to celebrate that you just accomplished this, and for you to just sit with the feeling that you have and breathe and drink water and just integrate in your body and breathe in your body. And then you're going to have the people start coming to you. And the people that come to you after you've shared your gift, they're people that think about this. When you go to listen to a talk, sometimes you hear an amazing talk. And do you go up and talk to the person right after? A lot of us don't. A lot of us feel like, wow, that was mind-blowing, and I'm not going to go up there because some other people are going up there, or because I don't know if I want to meet them in this context or whatever, right? So not everybody's going to come up to you, but that doesn't mean they didn't absolutely love the talk, and they might not completely gush about it to you later. So don't judge that. Just sit with where you're at. And then when you have people come up to you, which they will, just receive what it is that they have to share. And just thank them. Thank you. I hear that. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me that you would acknowledge that. Thank you. And really take it in. And if they have questions or they have comments or whatever, like really be with them. Really take that time to integrate with them what it is that they need to have integrated. Now, if you've got a line of people or a lot of people that you want to talk with, you know, receive, integrate with them, respond to them deeply, acknowledge at least one point that you can that connects you with them and that acknowledges this space, and say, thank you so much for being here, and turn your attention to the next person. Sometimes they'll want to stay and keep talking and whatever, but turn your attention to the next person, say hi, and they'll maybe either drift away, they'll either leave, or they'll step out a little further away and let you do this. Now, people that come forward that are generally more energetically sensitive, they don't want to take up too much of your time. And so they're just trying to very quickly, like, I just wanted to thank you for your talk. Oh, thank you, bye. It's like, no. Oh, hey, what's your name? Hi. It's okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here, and thank you for sharing that with me. And I'm glad that you enjoyed it. And if there's anything else that you need, let me know. All right, now you can go run away. And this is like the post, you know, from the Weaver perspective, we'd say like it's the post-coitus. It's like the after sex, like experience with people where you are now integrating. You're integrating the fields, you're cuddling, you're having the love, you're expressing the field of communion, and how you treat and how well you stay present in this time right here is a reflection of how authentic you were on the stage. Does that make sense? So they saw you on the stage. They got to experience all of you in the full act. But how present you are right now says how authentic you were on the stage and how real you are in real life. Okay? If you go off stage, just put on your sunglasses, and you roll off, you know, you're like, don't talk to anybody. I'm a fucking rock star. Nobody cares about you. Nobody wants to connect with you after that. They're like, oh, okay, well, he's one of those, you know, ego too big to connect with anybody, you know, thinks that all his ideas are the best ideas, you know, and it sucks. It doesn't build community. It doesn't build coherence. It doesn't build the long term. So the afterglow is the time that you set in that oxytocin magic, that little bit of connective thread where we're going to be together. It's okay. Like, thank you. I really actually care about who you are. And I really actually love to have you in my talks. And I liked speaking to you and dancing with you from the stage. And I noticed at that moment when you responded to this piece, that was beautiful to me, right? Speak to them. You spoke to them on the stage, so speak to them now and tell them what you saw and what you experienced with them. That is a beautiful thing. It means so much. It really, really like lets people feel like they're there and they're seen and they're present with you. So when the integration of with people is complete, taking care of yourself is critical, you know, and just making sure that once you've dialed in with some of that crowd, you may reach a breaking point where it's like, okay, time to ground out. That's your time. That's you go take care of yourself. Feel free to pop that bottle of champagne or smoke or ground and sit and anchor or eat some food or whatever it is that makes you feel rooted and grounded and gets you back in your body to integrate, so that then you can relax and you can hang out and you can do whatever else it is that you need to do. And so that creating those relationships and creating that arc in the end of space and communion and chocolate, as Phoenix says, doing that in the end is a patterning of energy that will actually inform the field that you experience before you go into a talk. So the more well you've done this integration at the end, the more you feel that when you're going into a talk and the less afraid you are. The more you feel that that energy current is actually really exciting because you're going to have this amazing talk experience, and that's going to bring you these amazing connections with these amazing people. And then you're going to feel like celebrating, and the whole experience gets encoded in your being as this beautiful journey. And you really feel it in your being. And that empowers you to take your work to bigger stages. If we want to be global ambassadors, we start at that one-on-one level. We start at the field of how do we speak? How do we share? How do we meet people? How do we create coherence? And as we learn to do that, we grow the field of coherence so that we're communicating with more people and reaching more people and touching more people and touching more people until we feel like we can speak in a way that's going to be a brushstroke of a rainbow across all of life. And the greatest speakers that we hear, people like Tony Robbins, Obama was an incredible speaker, Martin Luther King, when you listen to his speeches, you can hear when he's speaking, you can hear that they are speaking in this stroke that is communing with you personally. That their universal energy is reaching you as an individual, that they're speaking to you and about you and acknowledging you. And that is the experience on the receiving end of having a great speaker who has developed this capacity to hold the whole field and the whole universal span. And it goes right into our hearts, it goes right into our soul. And if we want to be global speakers and we want to speak to all of humanity, we have to get to know the archetypes of humanity. We have to get to know all the facets of the amazing beings around the planet. We need to get to know the warriors and the weavers and the wizards and the healers and the ambassadors and the starwalkers. Like, these are universal energy braids, and you can speak just to those and you will reach the people. If you balance how you're embodying your speaking, how you are sensually expressing yourself and letting your emotions flow, how you are precisely targeting and integrating your mind and focusing your ideas, how you are sharing in the feeling and the truth of the ideas and the connection that's coming through them, and how you are speaking to those who will then speak to others. You're giving a gift that they can then pass along, and that you are aware that they are more than just flesh suits, that they are beings of spirit, and that their spirits are coming through in the moment with them and are coming through in the moment with you, and that your ancestors are with you and that their ancestors are with them. And this is like a sacred moment of communion that we have to share right now. And then we start to really tune into that universal sort of divine truth, that span of the divine truth, the essence, that core brilliant beauty which wants to pour itself forth as a nectar of the soul to touch the lives of all the people that we come into contact with. The truth that is beyond our minds, that which is simply self-evident, that is expressed in the pure essence of soul to soul. And it's beautiful. We feel love, we feel magic, we feel communion, we feel sacredness, we feel prayer, we feel this blessing in the expression, in the experience. And that is the space we want to get to. That is where we're going. We want to get to the place where we are ambassadors to the planet through this space of total communion. Right? Thank you guys so much for your presence today. That's all I have time for in this ambassadorial expression. I hope that it has been a toolkit for you to take forward into your work and your expressions and your teaching and your speaking, and get out there and share your gifts. Get out there and share your voice. Put yourself on a stage. Just do it, because so much of you needs to experience how you can come forward when you're speaking to a crowd, and what parts of yourself can come forward in that way that you may not have gotten to know yet, you may not have seen yet. So good luck with that. Remember to breathe in the fear and transmute it into its true energy. Shift the perspective, in fact, that it is fear, and breathe it just as energy. It is charging you up. It is giving you the power to do the work that you're there to do. And think of it that way. You're a tuning fork, charging up with power to go out and blast the collective with your majesty. And speak to everyone, dance with them all. Don't worry if you get stuck, just be patient, keep going, and integrate. Integrate with them, integrate with yourself, integrate with the whole field. Thank you guys.